Batman v Superman is a total mess. Even with the extended version, it tried just so many things all at once. In some attempt to catch up with Marvel. So, what if I did it different? I'm somewhat inspired by Phoenix Studios, but this is going to be my own take, another take, on Batman v Superman. I'd probably just call the film Dawn of Justice. We open instead of on the typical Wayne Perrins blam blam, we open with Jason Todd. He's all like strung up, and we see spray paint on his suit. And we see a hand turn on a boombox playing music from people who are actually scarier than the Joker. He's doing his little routine, he does a little dance, and he takes out a crowbar and starts wailing on Jason. For this film, Joker is being played by Willem Dafoe, which might be weird because Aquaman, but not really, because just like how Joker's backstory is meant to be kind of multiple choice, I think his insanity is a little contagious, and people see the Joker with multiple different faces. So he looks a little different depending on who you're asking. Also, the Joker's gain is a thing, not helping. We see Batman and the Batmobile just flying down the road, trying to get there, but he shows up too late, and he finds Robin dead. Then 7 months later, we see the Black Zero event from the end of Man of Steel. The sequence is basically the same, except for whoever this is, we make him an actual character, Lucius Fox. And he can still be played by Morgan Freeman, so people who remember The Dark Knight know the impact of his death. Then 11 more months later, we cut to the Indian Ocean and people found kryptonite, caused by the attempted terraforming by General Zod. Then the Lexcorp building, we're introduced to LJ. He's been running Lexcorp ever since his father, Billy Zane Lex Luther, has become president of the US. He's talking to some reporters about how his family goes back to his great-grandfather, who was in Germany and became a great businessman from nothing. He talks about the effects of kryptonite and how it has a negative reaction to Kryptonians, and like the people he's talking it to is Jimmy and Lois. Then we cut to later that night, 2 people are caught up in the rain, and they decide to cut through an area. One of them is Carrie Kelly, but then they get jumped by black mask thugs, and one of them is recognized as Duke Thomas. And he doesn't really want to mess them up or anything, but everyone's trying to egg them on to. But then they hear Batman arrive, and one of the thugs is like, "Oh, it's just Bats, he's like 100, let's kick his ass." He like runs up to him, and Batman, uncharacteristically, is very angry and brutal with them, slamming them through walls and breaking their fingers. Duke runs away as the main nostalgia critic looking guy is grabbed. Bat yells at him what you know about kryptonite, and he says that there's more coming in a week. And then Batman takes out the Bat brand. Bruce returns to the cave and he tells Alfred. The two have the same conversation from the original movie about how Alfred is so upset and concerned about Bruce's mental health, and how he shouldn't kill Superman. But at the end, we also see Bruce looking over Robin's suit, as well as a photo of his parents and Lucius. I'm going to leave it open. The idea Dick Grayson does exist in this world, but him and Bruce are not on good terms. Meanwhile, Perry's looking over other news reports, seeing what he should report on.
Wild animal, snarled and growled. A werewolf for sure.
A group of cat burglars, seriously injured.
It was a flying monster with wings and fangs. Reality check, Michelle, it was definitely a man. But he had to be like 12 feet tall.
He's like, same old story out of Gotham. And he sends the Dream Team to go report on a speech by the president. The Daily Planet is there, but also Lex News reported on Lex being there, as well as Bruce. We can also see Derek Powers and Amanda Waller and LJ eating Jolly Ranchers. And Luther talks about how Wayne Enterprises, Powers Tech, and Lexcorp has been helping repair Metropolis from the ruins that Superman caused. These 3 companies are the real heroes fixing up the city that Superman smashed up. We're the ones taking care of people, like providing food and repairing their homes. People like Sergeant Corbin over here, he lost his legs in the Black Zero event. The US and Lexcorp will stop at nothing to help this man walk again. Meanwhile, Superman's just off flying around without a care in the world. "Oh, someone's legs were crushed during my fight? I fail to see what's my problem," he might say. Everyone is like cheering and holding up signs, anti-Superman, and Jimmy's like, this is totally bogus. Superman wouldn't say anything like that. If he knew he was in trouble, he would have helped. Let's get out of here, guys. And Clark jokes, yeah, I didn't vote for him either. Maybe that's why he's Man of the Year. And afterwards, Lex says everyone can ride with him, and they all hop into the presidential limo. Bruce asks the question, how exactly are we going to make him walk again? And Lex says, simple. Kryptonite. Lexcorp has been mining it for a while, and we think we can use some of it to power nanites within him to give him his legs back. And LJ's eating Jolly Ranchers, and he says, oh yeah, we got some more coming in a week. Bruce notices the 1 week thing, and he says he's got some stuff to think about before. And later at night, he has a nightmare. Kind of a shortened version of the one he has in the film. Kind of like in The Boys, where it has Superman lasering a crowd, and he's taking over the world with his powers, and no one can stop him. But then Bruce hears a familiar laugh. But still with Willem Dafoe's voice, and maybe he's in like soft focus so you can't really tell. It's basically the Joker scene from the Schneider Cut, with Joker making fun of the death of Jason Todd, saying that he's Batman's best friend. He knows about the multiverse, and questions how many of them are destroyed in dead timelines because of Bruce not wanting to kill anyone for the greater good. But then Superman flies in and laser eyes both of them, which causes Bruce to violently wake up. And he calls up Lex and says he'll do it. Operation Metallo begins with them inserting a thing into John's body, which will run on kryptonite, and help him power the nanites that they'll inject into him later. And throughout the scene, we can also see LJ kind of eyeing the kryptonite and eating Jolly Ranchers. And later, Lex takes Bruce aside and has the same conversation that LJ has about the upside down painting and how devils come from the sky. But the stuff around it we kind of toned down because we don't want this Lex to be too insane. Then we see the Black Mask thug from earlier in jail. He's getting harassed by a bunch of Joker thugs who tear at his shirt, and they see the Bat brand. A bunch of other thugs surround him, saying, oh, what? You think you're all bad? You took on the Bat? And they all surround him. And we see on the newspaper that the Bat brand is a mark for death in jail. Clark does not like this, and he wants to do a report about Batman, and Perry has the same kind of line in the original. Essentially saying, what's the point? Even that Bat has appropriately gone bat crap crazy in the mean streets of Gotham. Here, do a report about the Gotham high school football team. Then we get the scene from the Ultimate Edition of Clark going around Gotham, with people telling him that Batman is vengeance, and how ever since 2013, he's just had a new kind of angry within him. Then we cut to Carrie Kelly, and she's dressing up like Robin and sneaking out of her house. We hear over the TV some stuff about Jim Gordon. Her parents are completely oblivious as she sneaks out the window, which is easier said than done. Clark's just kind of walking down the road, kind of upset to hear that Bat's kind of crazy. Mugger's walking behind him, but then Carrie jumps out from the alley, stopping him, saying to beware, because Girl Wonder is here. But then the Mugger is just kind of annoyed by her and walks away. Clark realizes that she's dressed up like Bat's old partner and asks why she's doing it. And she says, well, because Batman, much like his signal, is a symbol of hope for Gotham, that he'll actually help us fight crime when the cops don't really care for it anymore. He might be losing it with age, but I still think he's doing it all for, at least a positive reason, and I want him to notice me. We cut to a ship that's unloading the kryptonite, and Batman's there in the shadows, watching, making sure nothing bad happens. But then he realizes Firefly's there, and he jumps into action, fighting off some thugs, and he chases after Firefly. He's using his flamethrower, but Batman's cape is fireproof, and he latches on with his grappling hook. So Firefly decides to fly around and take Batman for a ride until they get to the Bill Finger Bridge, and Firefly starts smacking him against cars and the bridge wires and stuff. But then Batman uses a reverse card and gets planted against the bridge, and he swings Firefly into some wires. He crashes down, and Batman takes out the Bat brand. But then Superman flies up and says not to do that. But then Batman just tosses him away. Firefly escapes, and then Superman pins Batman against the bridge, saying that he's not allowed to do that anymore. You're a symbol of hope. Act like it. If not, that signal, when it shines next, don't go to it. And he uses his vision, and he calls him Bruce Wayne. And Bruce is like,
you peaked.
He drops him to the ground. He floats away. But then Bruce immediately gets back up, standing all defiant-like, and he says,
Tell me, do you bleed?
Superman just turns around and flies away. Then a day or two later, we're at Lex Tower, and we're having a party over Project Metallo was a complete success, and he can walk again. And LJ tries giving a speech, but he's looking really bad. It's the same speech from the original, but we see his skin turn purplish throughout it, and his hair is kind of fall out. The reporting dream team's there, and they talk with Bruce. He kind of flirts with Lois, and Clark's upset about it, and they kind of recognize each other. But then it's all broken up by Diana Prince, who cuts in between the two and asks Bruce to dance. Clark walks off, and he sees on the TV the thing happening at the Day of the Dead. He excuses himself to go to the bathroom, but we all know he's going to fly off. Diana introduces herself to Bruce and says that she's been watching him for a while. And Diana says not to trust Lex, and she mysteriously disappears. That's all we really need of Wonder Woman in this film. And later we see that Bruce stole a bunch of kryptonite from Lexcorp. Alfred wants Bruce to destroy it, but Bruce says it's a necessary evil. Yes, but are you really willing to go that far? And Bruce talks about how he fell after Lucius. He really started to realize how hopeless he is at saving people. Like with Jason, he was too late, and he couldn't do anything with his parents. How many more innocents will die just because he won't kill one person for the greater good? But Alfred adds, if you kill now, will you be able to stop yourself from killing in the future? Where exactly is the greater good to draw the line at? If you start now, then you'll just be soulless. And Bruce replies, if Bruce Wayne has to die to save humanity, then he will. And we cut to a montage from the original of Superman doing his thing. And then we also add stuff of Batman doing his thing. We get cameos from Slipknot and Kite Man. And him and one of his goons get away, but another one gets knocked into some chemicals by Batman. Ultimately, he's trying to show the difference between the two, with Superman being a symbol of hope and greatness, but everyone's kind of scared of him because of the unknown of him being an alien, and Lex Luther isn't really helping much. And Batman's a symbol of fear and vengeance. Eventually, Clark calls his mom to ask what to do. She says that she knows that Clark's a great guy. He's doing all the right things, but the rest of the world doesn't. Do you like a conference? Get them to know who you are. Introduce yourself to the world. So eventually Superman sets up basically a big Q&A and explains that Krypton and it exploded and he made it to Earth and he was raised in Kansas without actually saying any names. Lex News guys ask him stuff like, who'd you vote for in the last election, Luther or Clinton? He's like, I don't really want to talk about stuff like, where's your employment? He's like, that's kind of private. I don't want to talk about that. Do you believe in God? And there's a minute pause as he starts to think and everyone's waiting for him. And he says, well, my parents were Christians. They taught me humility and responsibility. But for me, I don't think anyone's quite right. I do believe that there's some spirit out there, some guiding force in reality, whether that be a singular god or multiple gods, maybe some who are even as dysfunctional and weird as humans, but I cannot really pinpoint exactly who is right or who is wrong. I don't think any one of us could ever know. The reporters are mumbling to themselves, and Luther's watching this on his TV, and he's kind of upset. Then he gets back to his video call of his son, and he's freaking out, his hair's all fall out. Lex is alright, Junior, when exactly did all this start? And LJ's well, I think it's because I've been slipping the kryptonite in the Jolly Ranchers to try and... Why the hell were you eating the kryptonite? I don't know, I was thinking I could build up immunity to it or gain powers from it, but really I've just been kind of getting shocked a lot and my hair's falling out and I'm purple now. And then Lex sees Bruce walk in and he just hangs up on his son. He says, Bruce! And Bruce informs him that Project Metallo is finished and John's nanites are completely functional now. Meanwhile, Superman, one of the reporters says he should answer for the crimes he did with the collateral damage, and Superman says, alright, I'll go on trial. And then we set up a trial, and Firefly's there, but in civilian form, and he's switches a briefcase. Reporters all hounding him as he gets to the building. One of the judges says, "We got some evidence," and they open their briefcase. Of course, it's the wrong one, and Firefly uses their Lexcorp brand detonator, and boom! Explosion, and Superman flies out, but we can actually notice some tears coming out of his eyes. We see him looking through the rubble for people and trying to help people. Everyone's tossing balls and stuff at him, saying that he killed everyone, and then survivor's guilt kicks in and he flies off. Then Lex News, special report. And on the news, we see a bunch of the footage edited to make Superman look bad, especially the part where they don't zoom in on his face crying and don't show any of the footage of him trying to help out and just leave. And Bruce sees this and he's like, that's the last straw. Then we got a montage of him working out and working on his Superman suit, making stuff like kryptonite batarangs and a kryptonite spear because symbolism. And after he goes to the family crypt, he looks over his parents and Jason's tombs. He puts his hand on the wall, asking for forgiveness because he's going to break his promise and kill someone tonight. And we cut to Jimmy and Lois at her apartment, and they're looking over all the footage, thinking Superman would do nothing like that. And Lois leaves the room for a minute, and Batman grabs her. Clark makes it back to his family's place. He's tearing in the eye and hugs his mom. And this is where we get the be their hero, be their angel, or don't. You don't owe this world anything. But after, Clark gets a call from Lois. But it's Batman on the line, saying that he's got Lois and he needs to come to Gotham right now. He sees on his computer, Soup's flying in. He hits the rooftop as Lois is tied up still. The Superman versus Batman fight is more or less the same until near the end. Carrie Kelly saw all this happening and snuck in the building, frees Lois, and she throws herself between the two, saying that Superman didn't do it. They have the evidence that it's Firefly, and Firefly is probably working for Luther. And Bruce takes a second and kind of steps back, realizing he's been duped. Lex been the puppet master all along, and everything just kind of instantly hits him that he's messed up. So he tosses the spear away, reaches out and helps Superman up, saying that he doesn't expect forgiveness. But Superman's it's all good. And Carrie's kind of fangirling about Batman and introduces herself. And John enters saying, what a touching moment. Batman says, why is he here? John opens his shirt saying that Lex sent him and it's his turn now. And the kryptonite instantly knocks Superman on the ground. He starts fighting, tossing him through the building, away from everyone else. Bruce goes after and hits him with a bunch of explosive batarangs, knocking the flesh off of him, revealing his nanomite skeleton. Then Firefly and a bunch of goons enter, recapturing Lois. Carrie tries helping, but it goes about as well as you think. Batman and Superman are fighting Metallo, but then Batman sneaks off to help Carrie. Clark gets tossed around by Metallo a little, but he uses his laser eyes to blast off his arm. But then Metallo just reforms it. Nanomachines, son. Turns his hands into weapons and knocks around Soups, sending him flying into the graveyard nearby. Meanwhile, of Carrie and the thugs.
Spill it, chicken legs. Where's the bat?
Then Bats tosses a batarang at the guy who's holding Carrie, which causes him to drop her. He pulls him near with his grappling hook and he beats him up.
Figured I had all night, boss?
Back off, man, I'll waste it. Believe me, I'll do it.
I believe you.
But then Carrie uses her slingshot and hits Firefly's tanks, causing a leak. Batman grabs her and Lois and uses his cave to protect from the explosion. Then he joins the fight with Metallo, throwing a bunch of electricity batarangs at him. He tries rescuing Soups when he gets pulled away by Metallo. Bruce tries tossing a batarang into his kryptonite, but it doesn't really do anything except for chipping it. Metallo rips his helmet off, revealing that he's Bruce Wayne. Soups uses his laser vision to cut off his other arm. Metallo then sees the chip of the kryptonite, and he forms a gun, and he aims it at Soups, saying something like, "This is for humanity." And he shoots him right in the heart. The Batman does a flip over him, tossing more explosive batarangs at him, blowing off his lower half. Bruce tries picking at the kryptonite, but Clark's skin keeps healing too fast. Metallo tries crawling to them, grabbing Batman's legs, saying, "First Superman pays for taking my legs, and now you will too." He starts like crushing it. But then Carrie arrives with a snow shovel she found and flips over Metallo. She just starts bashing the kryptonite and scooping it out, causing Metallo to shut down. She helps up Bruce, and everyone joins up, and Lois knows where to take Superman. And it cuts to the Fortress of Solitude. And Kelex recognizes Lois, and they set him in a thing that will eventually heal Superman. But Kelex says that Kal-El will be in suspended animation for a while, given how deep the kryptonite made it into him. So Lois tells Perry that Clark was caught in action last night, and he's in a coma. Superman's name is cleared. Lex News is denounced for bad journalism. Firefly is arrested, and now has all the burns. And Lex tries to sweep everything under the rug, saying that Metallo just went rogue and mad. It's a shame what happened to him, but Lexcorp and the government take no responsibility of his actions. Given that my son is currently dealing with a parasite, it cuts to him in like a lab, and the kryptonite's unlocked LJ's metahuman gene, and he's starving. Some doctor guy tries giving him food, but he absorbs him. And Lex says, for the time being, Lexcorp's operations will be ran by my nephew, Lenny. And it cuts to Lenny, and he's like, "Alright, I'm even richer now, alright, Ruz." Oh no. And it cuts to Batman, he's jumping from building to building, he does the pose, he does the other pose with Robin, and there's some monologue about how justice, just like hope, can be as easily lost as it is found. And then in the post-credit scene, we see Batman at his lake house, but then someone's at the door.
I'm sorry, who are you again?
I've gone by many names and taken many forms, and some have called me the Martian manhunter. And like you, I've realized I have a stake in this world, and it's time I started fighting for it.
Glad you're here.
You know, I never thought I'd see the Defenders of Earth united and fighting as one. It wouldn't have happened without you, Bruce.
That's how I would rewrite Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. But what do you guys think? You like how it turned out? Do you not? You have any better ideas? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like, share, comment, and if you're new here, subscribe.